Would you move to a beautiful retirement town if the nearest heart specialist was 2 hours away? At first, most people say no, but every year, thousands of retirees make that decision without even realizing it. They compare home prices, they compare taxes, they compare the weather, they compare the cost of living, but they forget to compare the one thing that often matters most a few years later: healthcare. And here's the surprising part: some of America's best healthcare isn't found in the retirement towns everyone talks about. It isn't always in the famous beach communities, or the mountain resorts, or the places that appear on every best places to retire list. Instead, it's often found in quieter communities where life moves at a gentler pace, neighbors still know one another by name, and excellent medical care is simply part of everyday life, not something you worry about, just something you can depend on. Because the truth is, retirement isn't simply about where your money goes, it's about where your life happens. Morning walks, coffee with friends, Saturday farmers markets, volunteering, watching the grandchildren visit. Those moments become much easier to enjoy when you aren't constantly wondering, what happens if something goes wrong? During our research, one thing became clear: the happiest retirees weren't choosing towns because they had the lowest taxes or the biggest homes. They were choosing places where they could enjoy life today while knowing excellent healthcare would be there tomorrow if they ever needed it. That's exactly what today's video is about. Not just hospitals, not just doctors. Freedom. The freedom to enjoy retirement without carrying that quiet worry in the back of your mind. Welcome to Settled Living, where we help Americans discover the best places to live, retire, and truly enjoy the years they've worked so hard to earn. If you enjoy practical retirement guides backed by careful research, we'd love to have you join our community. Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Every week we share new guides to help you make smarter decisions about where to retire, how to relocate, and how to make the most of the years ahead. Now let's begin, because our first town proves something many retirees never expect. You don't always have to choose between outstanding healthcare and a peaceful, small-town lifestyle. Sometimes you really can have both. 8. Waukesha, Wisconsin. Picture an ordinary Tuesday morning. The sun has just come up over the Fox River. The walking trail is already dotted with familiar faces. Some are walking their dogs. Others are enjoying an early stroll before breakfast. You wave to a couple you've seen dozens of times before. A few minutes later, you step into your favorite neighborhood cafe. Before you even reach the counter, the owner smiles. The usual? It's a small moment, but retirement is full of small moments like these, and somehow they become the ones you remember most. That's everyday life in Waukesha. What many retirees don't realize is that one of America's strongest healthcare communities is only a few minutes away. According to Investopedia's 2026 analysis of retiree healthcare, Waukesha ranked second in the nation, earning an impressive 97 out of 100. What makes that ranking especially impressive isn't the number of hospitals. It's their quality. Hospitals throughout Waukesha County consistently receive outstanding ratings from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, while Wisconsin continues to perform well across several Medicare quality measures. For retirees, that translates into something much more valuable than statistics: confidence. Confidence that if life throws you an unexpected challenge, excellent care is already nearby. Financially, Waukesha is appealing for another reason. Housing remains more affordable than many comparable communities across the country, allowing retirees to enjoy a high quality of life without paying premium prices. Downtown still feels authentic: independent bookstores, family-owned restaurants, local festivals, coffee shops where regulars know each other's names. It feels like a town people actually live in, not one designed simply to attract visitors. Walter spent almost 40 years working as a pharmacist. During his career, he watched far too many patients postpone appointments because quality healthcare wasn't easily accessible. When retirement finally arrived, He made one promise to himself: I'm not going to spend my retirement worrying about whether help is close by. That's what first brought him to Waukesha. But healthcare isn't what convinced him to stay. Within weeks, neighbors were greeting him by name during his morning walks. He joined a local volunteer group. His favorite cafe started feeling like a second living room. Today, Walter says something interesting. He rarely thinks about healthcare anymore. And he smiles every time he says it. Because that's exactly what great healthcare should do. It should quietly disappear into the background while you get on with enjoying your life. Of course, no retirement destination is perfect. Wisconsin winters are long. Snow becomes part of everyday life for several months each year. If you're hoping to wear shorts in January, Waukesha probably isn't your place. But if you're looking for outstanding healthcare, a genuine sense of community, and a retirement that feels calm rather than crowded, Waukesha deserves a serious look. And speaking of hidden gems, our next town is one of the biggest surprises we found during our research. Most Americans have never even considered it. Yet it ranks among the very best places in the country for retiree healthcare. 7. Lebanon, Pennsylvania. If someone handed you a map of America's best retirement towns, there's a good chance your finger would land somewhere else. Lebanon doesn't usually make the headlines. It doesn't have a famous coastline. It isn't filled with luxury retirement resorts. And that's exactly what makes it so interesting. This is the kind of place that quietly earns people's trust. Life moves at a comfortable pace. Rolling farmland surrounds the town. Covered bridges dot the countryside. Local diners fill with familiar faces every morning. People still stop to talk. Nobody seems to be in quite as much of a hurry. For many retirees, that's exactly the lifestyle they've been hoping to find. Housing remains comfortably below national averages, making homeownership much more attainable for people living on fixed incomes. Pennsylvania also offers another welcome advantage. Social Security benefits aren't taxed by the state, and most retirement income from pensions is also exempt. That alone can make a noticeable difference over the course of retirement. But here's what truly sets Lebanon apart. According to Investopedia's 2026 healthcare rankings, Lebanon placed third in the nation for retiree healthcare, earning an impressive 96 out of 100. Its hospitals consistently perform exceptionally well on federal quality measures, despite the town rarely appearing in national retirement conversations. Margaret spent more than 30 years teaching elementary school outside Philadelphia. Like many retirees, she assumed she'd have to compromise. Affordable living or excellent health care. Surely she couldn't have both. A friend encouraged her to spend one autumn weekend exploring Lebanon before making a final decision. She expected a quiet country town. She didn't expect to feel at home. Saturday morning began at the local farmers market. Sunday afternoon ended with a peaceful drive through the surrounding countryside. Driving home, she realized something. She wasn't comparing Lebanon with the other places on her list anymore. She was imagining what everyday life there might actually feel like. Today, she says the biggest surprise wasn't the hospital. It was how much calmer life became once she moved. There is one trade-off worth mentioning. Lebanon is proudly rural. If your idea of retirement includes professional sports every weekend, upscale shopping, or endless restaurant choices, you'll occasionally find yourself driving into nearby cities. But for many retirees, that's exactly the point. Life feels simpler, quieter, more intentional, and our next destination couldn't be more different. Imagine cool mountain mornings in the middle of summer, a walkable downtown filled with local restaurants, and a healthcare network that completely changed one couple's retirement plans. 6. Hendersonville, North Carolina. If you've always dreamed of retiring in the mountains, there's a good chance you've looked at Asheville, but just 25 miles away sits a town that many retirees now prefer. Hendersonville. It's smaller, it's quieter, and for many people, it's simply easier to call home. One of the first things you'll notice is the weather. While much of the South is sweltering through the middle of summer, Hendersonville's higher elevation keeps temperatures noticeably cooler. It's the kind of place where an August morning still invites you outside with a cup of coffee. Downtown feels exactly the way many retirees hope a small town will feel. Wide sidewalks, flower baskets hanging from old buildings, local cafes where nobody rushes you out the door, family-owned restaurants, independent bookstores, a lively farmers market that brings the community together every week. Life here encourages you to slow down, not because there's nothing to do, but because there's finally time to enjoy it. Healthcare is one of Hendersonville's greatest strengths. Excellent primary care and specialist services are available locally, while Asheville's major medical network, including Mission Hospital, is only a short drive away for more advanced treatment. For retirees managing ongoing health conditions, that's an incredibly reassuring combination. You enjoy the peace of mountain living without feeling isolated from quality care. Richard and his wife never expected healthcare to become the deciding factor in their retirement. Then she was diagnosed with cancer just 2 years before they planned to leave work. Suddenly, everything changed. The conversations that once focused on scenery and weather became much more practical. If something like this happens again, where do we want to be? They visited several mountain towns. Some were beautiful, but they felt too remote. Others offered better medical care, but lacked the peaceful lifestyle they wanted. Then they found Hendersonville. They spent a Saturday exploring downtown. They wandered through the farmers market, shared lunch at a small cafe. Later that afternoon, they drove past the local medical center before continuing toward Asheville. For the first time during their retirement search, everything seemed to fit together. Richard says they didn't choose Hendersonville because of one hospital. They chose it because they could picture themselves living there every single day. That's an important difference. Of course, Hendersonville isn't the bargain it was 10 years ago. As more retirees discover Western North Carolina, home prices have steadily climbed. Buying sooner rather than later may make a meaningful difference for buyers considering the area. But for many retirees, the combination of mountain beauty, comfortable weather, and dependable healthcare continues to make Hendersonville one of the Southeast's strongest retirement choices. And speaking of places that quietly exceed expectations, our next town may offer one of the best combinations of healthcare, affordability, and mountain scenery anywhere in the eastern United States. 5. Roanoke, Virginia. Ask someone to name a retirement town in Virginia, and chances are they'll mention Williamsburg or Charlottesville. Rarely does Roanoke come up first. That's surprising, because it probably should. Surrounded by the Blue Ridge Mountains, Roanoke offers the kind of scenery people normally travel hours to enjoy. The famous Blue Ridge Parkway runs right through the region. Weekend drives become unforgettable. Morning hikes are never far away, and autumn transforms the surrounding mountains into one of the most spectacular displays of color you'll find anywhere in America. But Roanoke isn't simply beautiful. It's practical. Housing remains far more affordable than many better-known mountain communities. Virginia doesn't tax Social Security benefits, and the city's revitalized downtown offers an enjoyable mix of local restaurants, coffee shops, breweries, galleries, and community events that keep retirement interesting without ever feeling overwhelming. Then there's healthcare. Carilion Clinic has become one of the nation's most respected nonprofit healthcare systems. Headquartered right here in Roanoke, it operates multiple hospitals while partnering with Virginia Tech on medical education and research. For retirees, that means access to exceptional care close to home. Cardiology, cancer treatment, orthopedics, neurology, geriatric medicine. It's a level of specialist access that surprises many people visiting a city this size. Caroline spent more than 35 years working as a physician. She understood healthcare systems better than most. When retirement approached, she knew exactly what she wasn't willing to compromise. She wanted a place where she could trust the medical care long before she ever needed it. Roanoke quickly rose to the top of her list. The hospitals impressed her, but what she didn't expect was how quickly she would fall in love with everyday life. One afternoon after a routine specialist appointment, she drove home along a stretch of road overlooking the Blue Ridge Mountains. The leaves had just begun turning brilliant shades of orange and red. She pulled into her driveway, turned off the engine, and sat quietly for a few moments. Later, she told a friend, "This is the retirement I spent my whole career working toward, not because of the hospital, not because of the mountains, but because everything worked together. Healthcare, affordability, nature, community. That's surprisingly difficult to find." Roanoke does have one important consideration. Much of the city is built on rolling hills. Retirees with mobility concerns should spend time exploring different neighborhoods before choosing where to live. Some highly specialized medical care may also require occasional trips to Charlottesville or Richmond. Even so, Roanoke continues offering one of the most balanced retirement lifestyles anywhere in the Appalachian region. And here's something interesting. The next town on our list proves that world-class healthcare doesn't always require living in a major metropolitan area. Sometimes it comes with lakeside walks, one of America's best farmers markets, and a quality of life that's surprisingly difficult to beat. 4. Madison, Wisconsin. Some retirement towns offer beautiful scenery. Others offer outstanding healthcare. Madison manages to offer both. At first glance, it doesn't even feel like a typical retirement destination. It's energetic, walkable, filled with students, professionals, families, and retirees, all sharing the same community. That mix gives Madison something many retirement towns struggle to create. Life on Saturday mornings. Thousands of people gather around Capitol Square for one of the largest farmers markets in the country. Fresh flowers, local cheeses, homemade bread, seasonal fruit, neighbors stopping to chat. It's the kind of weekly tradition that quickly becomes part of your routine. And after the market, many retirees stroll along the shores of Lake Mendota or Lake Monona, where miles of walking and cycling trails make it easy to stay active without ever feeling like you're exercising. It's simply part of daily life. Healthcare is where Madison truly shines. The University of Wisconsin Hospital anchors one of America's most respected academic medical systems. Its specialties in geriatrics, cardiology, gastroenterology, orthopedics, cancer care, and neurology consistently rank among the nation's best. For retirees, that's more than impressive. It's reassuring. Knowing world-class specialists are only minutes away allows many people to enjoy retirement with a confidence that's difficult to put into words. Madison also performs exceptionally well in overall quality of life rankings. Wallet Hub placed it among America's top cities for older adults, thanks to its combination of healthcare, recreation, safety, and senior-friendly amenities. Philip spent most of his career as an engineer. He loved solving complicated problems. When retirement approached, he approached the decision exactly the same way. He built spreadsheets, compared taxes, calculated healthcare costs, researched hospital quality, compared housing prices. Madison kept appearing near the top. Still, he assumed there had to be a catch. Then he visited. Saturday morning began at the Capitol Square Farmers Market. By lunchtime, he had already spoken with more strangers than he usually met in a month. That afternoon, he walked along Lake Mendota and watched sailboats drifting across the water. On the drive home, he laughed to himself. "I've spent 6 months comparing numbers and forgot to ask whether I'd actually enjoy living there." Today, he says the answer became obvious within a single weekend. His specialist is less than 20 minutes away. His favorite walking trail is even closer, and retirement somehow feels both active and relaxed at the same time. Of course, Madison asks for one thing in return. You have to accept winter. Snow is simply part of life here. For some retirees, that's enough to cross Madison off the list. For others, the outstanding healthcare, vibrant community, and exceptional quality of life make every snowfall worth it. But if you'd rather keep more of your retirement income while still enjoying outstanding healthcare, our next destination may surprise you even more. 3. Sioux Falls, South Dakota. When most people think about South Dakota, retirement usually isn't the first thing that comes to mind. That's exactly why Sioux Falls continues flying under the radar. And perhaps that's one of its greatest strengths. Life here feels refreshingly uncomplicated. Downtown is filled with locally owned restaurants, coffee shops, breweries, art galleries, and walking paths that follow the Big Sioux River. Falls Park sits right in the heart of the city, giving residents one of the country's most beautiful urban parks just minutes from home. Whether you're taking a morning walk, meeting friends for lunch, or attending one of the city's summer festivals, Sioux Falls feels active without ever feeling hectic financially. It's also one of the most retiree-friendly places in America. South Dakota has no state income tax, no estate tax, and no inheritance tax. That alone allows many retirees to keep significantly more of their retirement income each year. But taxes are only part of the story. Healthcare is where Sioux Falls truly stands out. Sanford Health and Avera Health have both built extensive medical networks here, offering retirees access to a remarkable range of specialists without needing to travel to a larger metropolitan area. Cardiology, cancer care, orthopedics, neurology, heart surgery, rehabilitation. It's a level of healthcare many people simply don't expect to find in a city this size. Recent national healthcare analyses have consistently recognized South Dakota for its excellent geriatric care, while Sioux Falls continues earning praise for the accessibility of its medical services. Gloria understood those numbers better than most. She spent more than 30 years working as a registered nurse. When retirement came, she researched communities the same way she'd evaluated hospitals throughout her career. She compared physician availability, Medicare Advantage networks, federal quality ratings, waiting times. Most people would have stopped after comparing taxes. Gloria kept digging. Again and again, Sioux Falls rose to the top. Her daughter tried convincing her to move somewhere warmer. Florida, Arizona, South Carolina. Gloria smiled and said, "I'm choosing peace of mind." 3 years later, her daughter came to visit during the summer. They spent the weekend walking through Falls Park, exploring downtown, eating outside at local restaurants. On the flight home, her daughter admitted something she hadn't expected. "Now I understand why you moved here. Winters here are undeniably cold. That's the reality. Snowstorms become part of everyday life for several months each year. But ask many longtime retirees whether they'd trade the health care, financial advantages, and close-knit community for warmer weather. And surprisingly, many say no. Because once you've built a life that feels secure, it's remarkably difficult to leave. And now, we've reached the town that almost every healthcare conversation eventually comes back to. A place where one name has become synonymous with medical excellence across America. 2. Rochester, Minnesota. There are good hospital towns, and then there's Rochester. For many retirees, this city represents the gold standard of healthcare in America. The reason is simple: the Mayo Clinic. For generations, people have traveled from every corner of the country and around the world to receive treatment here. Cardiology, cancer care, neurology, orthopedics, geriatrics. Virtually every major specialty is available at an extraordinary level. If peace of mind had an address, it might just be Rochester. But here's what surprised us during our research. People don't stay because of the hospital alone. They stay because Rochester is genuinely a wonderful place to live. The downtown is clean, walkable, and full of locally owned restaurants, cafes, bookstores, and green spaces. Miles of trails weave through parks and neighborhoods. Community events bring people together throughout the year. And despite being home to one of the world's most respected medical institutions, Rochester somehow manages to feel welcoming rather than overwhelming. Linda never imagined she'd move to Minnesota. After losing her husband to a heart condition, retirement looked very different from the one they had planned together. She wasn't searching for warmer weather anymore. She wasn't looking for lower taxes. She wanted one thing above everything else: to know that if she ever needed help, it would already be there. That's what first brought her to Rochester. But healthcare isn't what convinced her to stay. She found herself walking to the Saturday farmers market every weekend, joining a neighborhood book club, meeting people who quickly became close friends. One afternoon, she realized something. She had stopped thinking about hospitals. She had simply started enjoying life again. Today, she says, that's Rochester's greatest gift. It quietly gives you permission to stop worrying. Of course, Minnesota winters deserve their reputation. Snow arrives early. Temperatures can be brutally cold. There's no point pretending otherwise. But ask many longtime residents whether they'd trade world-class healthcare for a warmer climate, and you'll often hear the same answer. Not a chance. Because knowing that some of the finest medical care in America is only minutes away brings a level of comfort that's difficult to measure. And while Rochester is exceptional, there was one town that surprised us even more. Not because it has a more famous hospital, but because it delivers something every retiree hopes to find. A life that feels complete. 1. Williamsburg, Virginia. When most people hear the name Williamsburg, they think about history. Colonial streets, brick sidewalks, historic buildings. But retirees who actually live here talk about something completely different. Balance. Williamsburg somehow brings together excellent healthcare, a relaxed lifestyle, beautiful surroundings, and a genuine sense of community in a way that very few retirement towns manage to achieve. You can spend the morning walking through tree-lined neighborhoods, meet friends for coffee downtown, browse local bookstores, enjoy dinner at a family-owned restaurant, and still be only minutes away from outstanding medical care. That's one of Williamsburg's greatest strengths. It never asks you to choose between quality of life and quality health care. Riverside Doctors Hospital Williamsburg and Centauro Williamsburg Regional Medical Center provide excellent everyday medical care, while nearby Richmond offers quick access to nationally respected specialists through VCU Health whenever more advanced treatment is needed. For many retirees, that's exactly the combination they're looking for. Dependable local care with world-class specialists close enough if life ever changes. Financially, Williamsburg is also more approachable than many people assume. Virginia doesn't tax Social Security benefits, and while housing costs vary by neighborhood, retirees willing to explore beyond the most tourist-focused areas often find surprisingly good value. Frances spent nearly 35 years working as a librarian. Research had always been second nature to her. So when retirement approached, she approached it the same way she'd approached every important decision throughout her career. Patiently, carefully, methodically. She visited dozens of communities, compared hospitals, compared taxes, compared housing costs, compared crime rates. Again and again, Williamsburg quietly rose to the top, not because it won every category, but because it consistently performed well in all of them. One Saturday morning, she walked through the local farmers market before stopping for coffee with people she'd only recently met. Later that afternoon, she realized something. Retirement had stopped feeling like a plan. It had started feeling like real life. Today, she says the greatest luxury isn't living near historic buildings. It's waking up each morning, knowing she doesn't have to choose between enjoying today and preparing for tomorrow. That may be Williamsburg's greatest lesson. Retirement isn't simply about living longer. It's about living well, every single day. As we researched these 8 communities, one lesson kept appearing again and again. The happiest retirees weren't talking about hospital rankings. They weren't comparing physician-to-patient ratios. They weren't discussing Medicare statistics over coffee. Instead, they talked about ordinary mornings, walking the dog before breakfast, meeting friends at the local cafe, volunteering in the community, watching grandchildren visit, enjoying a quiet evening on the porch without carrying that little voice in the back of their mind asking, what happens if something goes wrong? Because that's what great healthcare really gives you. Not just treatment, freedom. Freedom to enjoy retirement without constantly worrying about the future. Every town we visited today offers that feeling in its own way. Some provide world-class medical centers. Others combine excellent regional hospitals with welcoming communities and a lower cost of living. But they all share one important quality. They allow retirees to spend less time worrying and more time living. So as you think about your own retirement, perhaps the question isn't simply, where can I afford to live? Maybe the better question is, where can I build a life I'll truly enjoy, while knowing I'm well cared for if I ever need it? One of today's towns may be exactly that place, or perhaps this video simply encourages you to look beyond the retirement destinations everyone else is talking about. Either way, that's a wonderful place to begin. If you found this guide helpful, we'd love to welcome you to the Settled Living community. Please like this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our weekly retirement guides. And before you go, we'd love to hear from you. Which of these 8 towns surprised you the most, or is there another retirement town with outstanding healthcare that you think deserves to be featured in a future video? Leave your answer in the comments below. We read every single one, and your recommendation might help another retiree discover the place they've been searching for. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. Until next time, take care, stay curious, and keep building the retirement you've worked so hard to earn. Because retirement isn't the end of the journey. It's finally having the freedom to enjoy it. We'll see you in the next video.